I'm a guy that's 24. Each day I build some more. I like episode 7 and episode 8. I'm Rich Boy J. Hello boyos, Rich Boy J here back with another video, and today we have another episode of my collecting every LEGO Star Wars minifigure series. This series is basically what I just said. I'm collecting all the LEGO Star Wars minifigures. This does include some of the more expensive figures like the Cloud City Boba Fett and the Chrome Gold C-3PO. This does not include the rare one-off figures made of rare earth minerals. I'm just not even going to worry about those. First up this week, we have some droids. These are some of the pit droids. First off, from the 1999 Mos Espa Pod Race set. Great set. That was one of the sets I really wanted when I was younger, and I'd honestly still buy that set to this day. First thing you'll notice are these little pieces right here slide off so easily. It's honestly super annoying. Like in the process of getting these figures set up on these platforms, they just slid and fell off so many times. They're super annoying, and to be quite honest, these pit droids don't even look very good. The standards for 1999 were not very high, so I'm not gonna go, ham on these figures. I totally get it. Like they needed a small little pit droid build to throw into the set. It's honestly pretty disappointing that 20 years later we still have not gotten an updated pit droid. LEGO has technically made 3 of these. There was basically a unique one for Anakin, Gascano, and Sebulba. These 2 that I have are Gascano and Sebulba's. Anakin's I had from his Pod Racer set. But there's really not too much to say about these things. I mean, they're okay. Like, that's probably the nicest thing I can say about them. I think we could absolutely use an updated pit droid build. Next up, we have what could barely even be considered a minifigure. Like, it's not a minifigure. Nonetheless, it still belongs on the minifig wall for some reason. This is the Droid Brain from the 2004 TIE Fighter Collection set. How do I even begin to try to review this? It is 3 pieces. It's not even canon. We can just move on. Next up, we have a Battle Droid Security Officer. This is from the 2002 Jedi Defense set. I really like what they did with these Battle Droids, giving them the solid dark red torso, but printing on the dark tan to basically just make the dark red accents. And even on the back of his head, he also has some dark red. They honestly didn't have to do this. Like, I could have totally just imagined a scenario where LEGO... Oh, let me flip this arm around. See, the brick. I really need to do a better job checking these figures before I start talking about them, because sellers will send these literally any type of way. But yeah, like, it was pretty cool that we got a decent amount of Battle Droid variety, even in the super early days of LEGO Star Wars. The one annoying thing about the figure that I got, and I've actually never experienced this before, but if you look at it, if I hold this figure like straight forward, the head is just slightly turned, like the plastic has warped and the head is kind of turning to the side. I think it kind of looks cool, like it gives a little bit more of a dynamic pose to the Battle Droid, but like, it kind of annoys me that this figure is basically damaged. Fortunately, it's not an expensive figure, but I would have liked if that were not the case. But in the meantime, I mean, I guess I could just have him looking off to the side. Next up, we have some Jedi and Sith boys. First off, we have Qui-Gon Jinn. I feel like I've done a Qui-Gon Jinn like a few weeks in a row now. This specific Qui-Gon Jinn is from the 2011 Sith Infiltrator set. I mean, I've talked so much about these Qui-Gons. I think that, I mean, the newer ones are probably some of like my favorite LEGO figures in terms of just being accurate to the likeness. I just honestly wasn't a fan of this Qui-Gon face design. The like wrinkles under the eyes just don't look great to me. He does not have any back head printing. He does, however, have back printing. So this is kind of once they started giving the Jedi robes and torsos a little bit more detail, which is pretty nice. And of course, no leg printing. I think the Qui-Gon with leg printing was one of the ones I reviewed in the previous weeks. I'm honestly just not going to spend too much time talking about the third Qui-Gon and the many iterations of him. It's honestly quite shocking. Like, Qui-Gon is a character, I guess he's kind of the main character of episode 1, but the amount of just different Qui-Gons we've gotten is pretty shocking for the fact that he's only been in 1 Star Wars film. Next up, we have Obi-Wan Kenobi with his head communication device on. This actually came out in a 2009 magnet set. I believe the difference between this one and the one that would have come in his blue Jedi Interceptor The difference between this one and the one that would have come in his blue Jedi Interceptor set is it has the hood and the cape. Just once again, another weird variation in these magnet and watch sets. Everything else on the figure is basically exactly the same, but this one has the hood and the cape. So I really like this headpiece. Like when I was younger, I thought it was cool to finally get Obi-Wan with a communications device. As someone who did not own the Ultimate Lightsaber Duel, it was cool to add this into my collection. But otherwise, it's a pretty basic Obi-Wan figure. Once again, another Darth Maul. I've done so many Darth Mauls at this point. I think the unique thing about this figure is a torso. Like this torso, I don't know, it might have appeared in other sets, but just looking at it, this looks different than the recent ones that I've reviewed. If we check out his back, he does have some back printing, which is pretty cool. It's not super detailed, but it is something. And I don't know, for this time, back printing wasn't super common, so it was nice that we started seeing them trickle into not only the Jedi, but also the bad boys. Next up, we got some Han Solos. Starting to the left, we have Han Solo from the 2009 Echo base set. This is a Hoth Han of many Hoth Hans that we've gotten. This is basically the exact same figure from the 4504 Millennium Falcon set. That was the second Millennium Falcon from 04. And the difference is he just permanently has the hood on, which is a weird distinction to make between the figures because this hood piece was also in that Falcon set. So it was basically like just kind of sitting in the Falcon so you could swap it out. But I guess they just decided this one is permanently wearing the hood. So we're just going to call this a different Han Solo figure. Of course, no back printing. They just weren't really doing that in 2004. But I don't know, like this is a pretty nostalgic figure for me. I remember when I first got that original, I keep wanting to say original, it's not the original Falcon, it's the second Falcon. But when I got that second Falcon, I remember looking at the figures, and by this time I hadn't seen the original trilogy yet, so all these characters were new to me. Like I knew about Star Wars, I just didn't know about the original trilogy characters, which feels weird to say in hindsight. But I remember looking at this figure and being like, who the heck is Han Solo? I don't remember him from Star Wars. Oh, I was a naive little boy. The next figure is another Han Solo. This is a Desert Skiff Han Solo. This one came in the 2010 Slave 1 set. So the funny thing is this exact torso, I'm pretty sure they're still using to this day on the Desert Skiff Han Solos. Obviously, they've changed the face and the hair. I mean, the pants, they're just brown pants. Not really too much to talk about there. But yeah, it's pretty funny that this exact same torso is still being used on that figure. And finally, we have two more figures. These are both Commando figures, surprisingly enough. Starting off first, we have a Senate Commando. This is from the 2009 Venator set, as well as a 2010 Cad Bane Speeder set. This is one of the figures that features the angry clone face from the Clone Wars underneath it. Ugh, I just do not. Let's go ahead and hide you back up. But yeah, it has the Clone Wars styling on the torso. Even for the time, like this is, I think, one of the more inoffensive Clone Wars figures. Like the helmet still looks pretty good. The torso, I don't, maybe it's just because the blue, the stylized print on the front doesn't stick out to me as much as maybe the clones would. He does have some pretty decent back printing, so actually, like, this is a fine figure. Other than the face, I think it's actually a pretty good figure. And then finally, we have our Endor Rebel Commander. This came in the 2009 Battle of Endor set. I actually really like this figure. Like, I hadn't ever really taken a close look at this figure, but there's some nice detail on it. For one, if you look at the torso print, I think just looks awesome. I love the bandolier, the belt, the coat. The helmet mold is just freaking incredible. Like, what an amazing helmet for the time. I had literally no idea that this figure had a backpack on it. So when I pulled this out of the packaging, I was pretty, like, pleasantly surprised. I like that. If we go ahead and remove the backpack, you can actually see that he even has some awesome back printing with like the strap of the bandolier coming across the hood, the belt. Like, this is, like, for 2009, this is a pretty awesome figure, in my opinion. They've since updated the Endor Rebels, and I mean, I think the newer ones are definitely superior, but for 2009, I'd say this was a very good minifig. But now that we've taken a look at all the minifigs, let's go ahead to the time lapse and put these bad boys on the wall. So what I actually just realized about this wall is I actually just hit a pretty cool milestone. Apparently, with this recent group of figures that I've added to it, I officially have over 1,000 Lego Star Wars figures, which is freaking incredible. It's crazy to think that when I first started this journey, there only existed around 830 Lego Star Wars figures. So, you know, through this journey, I've basically collected more than the amount of figures that existed at the time when I started. And that's just incredible. Like 1,000 Lego Star Wars figures, which means I have like 100 or so to go. And that's awesome. I love that. So in terms of the figures we added to the wall, can we get an F in the chat for this guy right here, one of the pit droids. Literally, as I was walking over here to this wall to like put these guys on here, I dropped like the whole plate that had all the droids on it into a bin with a bunch of other parts. And I found the parts for all the other droids, but this one, I lost the head, and I think I lost an arm to the other pit droid that I added to the wall, which is very, very unfortunate. I don't have those parts. I'm pretty sure I don't have the arm parts. Those are in like the old brown color, and I just don't have very many parts in those old colors. So I'm gonna keep looking for them. Hopefully I can find it in this bin of parts, but yeah, F in the chat. Over here, we went ahead and added the battle droid to the wall. He's sitting next to the original Imperial officer, which is still kind of a cool figure to me. I kind of like that figure. It has Lego Star Wars vibes for sure. But the security droid is now chilling right there. In this section right here, we added the new Obi-Wan Kenobi, as well as the Rebel Commando over here on this side. In this section, we basically added the Sith Infiltrator crew. So I think I almost have, this might actually be all the figures from that set. I think maybe Anakin also came in that set. I don't know. Who cares? I have most of them from that Sith Infiltrator set, which is kind of cool because that was one of the sets that I first bought minifigs from when I was first getting back into Lego Star Wars. So Qui-Gon and Darth Maul are now finally placed. And this is actually, I think, the lowest level where I placed a figure on this wall. Everything else is up higher, like the Han Solo with the parka over here, and the Desert Skiff Han Solo, I think, is also somewhere up there. So the emphasis on this episode was very so on the top half of the wall, which is nice because the top half of this wall is just looking extremely good right now. I think what I'm going to start doing now is shifting maybe a little bit more focus to this middle section. If you guys were tuning into the streams earlier this week, I did do a stream where I built the clone turbo tank, which meant that I could take a lot of the figures out of that set that need to go on the wall. I was going to do it on this episode, but I figured I'd save it for next week's episode since I already had so many figures for this episode. But hopefully we can really start getting a lot of these huge gaps in here filled in, because this journey, we're just getting so close to the end, guys. Like, I can really feel it. Like, you know, there's only maybe 115 more figures to go. There's unfortunately a lot of expensive ones to go, like that chrome gold C-3PO, but it's a process, and I'm just super happy with how close we are to getting to the end of this. So that's going to finish up the video today. I hope you enjoyed checking out the minifig wall once again. If you like what I do, go ahead, support the video by hitting the like button, support the channel by smashing that subscribe button, and I'll be back again very soon.